Hi everybody, this is Crosby coming at you live from Switzerland, specifically Bonstetten, Switzerland, in the 16th century Reformed church of this town that we're in called Bonstetten. I've been asked to give you some information about my new album coming out March 28th called Calix Meus Inebrians, being released from Sacred River Records. I'll give you a few songs, why I wrote them the way I wrote them, a couple of the ideas that I had, the symbolism that you might see me doing, wondering why I'm playing the song the way I'm playing it. Just let you into my head a little bit of why I do what I do with these songs. As I said, the album comes out March 28th worldwide, so get yourself a copy, and I'd be very grateful for your support. The first song I'd like to talk to you about, just briefly, is the title track. This is called Calix Meus Inebrians, and this is Latin for "My cup is overflowing. I am drunk with happiness." You need to imagine a chalice full of wine, but instead of that, it's full of blessings. Despite the pandemic we're in, the past couple of years of my life have been extremely rewarding, and I think this album represents my journey through this period of my life. The title track, Calix Meus Inebrians, starts off, I wanted something that started off epically, but still had a sort of profound nature to it, and didn't give away too much liveliness or thought too quickly. I just wanted a good, peaceful, pastoral, but yet still epic and profound beginning. The only way I could think of doing that was a good old... If you're listening to that only, it's a very sort of mysterious and epic introduction. If you remember from my last CD, November, I started off a little bit differently. I start off with the track Marlog Wood. I start off with this. So I wanted to continue the first seconds of the new album with this sort of effect. I go from there into what I wanted to have an idea of peace and serenity. And so I gave this little sort of out of space. Slow, melancholic, yet the idea that something is about to happen. So I've got that. And then after a while of developing that thing, I go into, I wasn't ready to really start the piece yet. I still needed a little more flavor, a little more, I almost thought of it as a what do you call it, a time stamp, like a period piece in a film or something. I wanted still more of the setting, so we've got the idea of me walking through a path. Both albums are about my journey. My last CD was about childhood and young adult. This new album, I should say, it's more about me continuing the journey. The journey is continuing, connected to a different path, but the journey continues. And I wanted to set the scene a little bit more. Still soft and profound, mysterious. That theme a little bit. It works out its own little melody. It just kind of takes us on to another place. A little bit more. And then at the end of this, song starts, the journey continues here. Always that motion doesn't stop. Following the same chord structure as before. So the listener has, we don't get too far from that. I wanted to have those 4 chords being very familiar, but within that familiarity, have plenty of repetition, but little differences, little alterations along the way, but we never lose that sense of familiarity. And then the section where I would consider kind of a glorious sort of entrance into refrain, breaking through the mist. Forget the journey that we were on. Spring through the mists. So that image of mystery never goes far away. That warm familiarity of your journey never goes far away. It stays in the ear. I'm not doing anything crazy chromatically, but there are 3 or 4 very specific musical symbols that I try to show you. Try to show you what I'm thinking. I'd like to play a little bit, all these things together, just to give you an uninterrupted portrayal. This is Calix Meus Inebrians. back to the main theme, and roughly all that is repeated again with a cool ending. Calix Meus Inebrians. So the next piece I'd like to show you, this is called Air. This is by Bach. This is from his orchestral suite in D major. Very famous melody. And when I was thinking of what sort of classical pieces I could possibly include on a new album, I thought of one of my favorite melodies, and I wondered if I could sort of have a kind of style that is representative of me, but also doesn't totally destroy the classical integrity that Bach would have used for this particular piece. Now, as you know, I studied music, in university, in conservatory, and had a long career as a classical musician. So a lot of these classical pieces are still very dear to me. But as a soloist, as a composer, doing my own music, you want to do your own music, but at the same time, you can make a classical piece your own as well. And you find a middle ground. So I thought, wouldn't it be great if I could do this piece and make it something that my fans or the people who like this genre of music can combine the two. And if you have the score at home, as you can see, we've got the eighth notes, nice eighth notes descending chromatically. The flute part or the violin part. You've got the melodic phrase up here. But if you look at my music, I've got a lot of space. I'm sort of known for having a sort of a new age style, even though I don't consider myself new age. The genre of music I am, it is best represented by that adjective. So, I've got half notes being held here, whole notes, a lot of space, and I pay particular attention, to the melody in the right hand. But in my own style, and in the original. There's a bit more movement. There's a bit more elaboration. I sort of took away elaboration, and I kept it kind of my down-home country folk style. But more than anything else, I wanted to create the vibe of how it was growing up in my little house outside of Syracuse, New York, listening in the morning to this, and the beauty of classical music to a young kid who really doesn't know what he's listening to, but yet that melody still stays in your head. That's a profound experience, and I wanted to include that in this album. So I start it just as simply as you can start a piece. I let the melody take on its own sort of direction, and I just put myself into it. If I were to play this just using notes, it would be a little bit different. It's still nice, it's beautiful. I don't know how else to explain it. You know, I wanted to take the classical and the down home. I kind of wanted to put it together for it to makes more sense to me that way. But I'd like to play you a little bit of it and show you what I'm talking about, because I think when you hear this, you'll recognize the melody and maybe appreciate the beauty from Bach. But I hope you also like what I've tried to do with this, to make this a comfortable piece for all listeners of music. This is Air by Bach. Okay, the next song I'd like to talk about. This song is called Everything's Fine. This song was inspired to me by a friend of mine who has a house in the mountains here in the Alps, up here in Switzerland, and he does a lot of hiking with his family. And as my last two albums, Calix Meus Inebrians and November, both strongly the idea of trails and paths and roads. It's very symbolic for me, as both of these kind of represent a journey for me, from my old life into my new life. And I wanted to have a song that sort of illustrated my friend Henry hiking, and so I thought, what could I possibly do that would just give the idea of not just forward movement and journey and momentum, but rather specifically mountain trails. And I think of the guitar. I think of strumming guitar. I think of bonfire in the woods, and singing with the guitar. And so one of the elements I like to use in this song is a sort of a repetitive, rhythmic. But it wasn't good enough just to do this. This might have been okay. I think I started off like this, and but that sounded kind of droning. So I thought, what about the upstroke of a guitar, or the downstroke? I'm not a guitar player, but I certainly have listened to guitar a lot, and I thought, what kind of authenticity? More rhythmic, and then eventually the bass gets added. I thought it'd be cool if we have that rhythmic guitar playing, melody on top of it, and I messed around with all sorts of different techniques. That picking, plucking, striding, strumming, stripping, I don't know the words exactly, but in my head I tried to replicate this idea of just a lazy hike through the mountains, accompanied by simple guitar playing. And the melody, I wanted to, it's sort of a melancholic song for personal reasons. Those that know my friend, they would understand what I'm talking about, but for personal reasons, I wanted this to be a beautiful, sweet, yet still happy and optimistic sort of song. And so I thought, Sort of introducing it. Little echo. And then a little bit lower bass. Still soft. Keep the strumming. Pause here, and then we're just going to go back to the simple. So, just you get the feeling of, strumming and picking. And I'll play a little bit of it for you, uninterrupted, to give you the true feel. But it's meant to be a very, very simple song, but with some depth to it, and no darkness involved, but a sense of melancholy, and as with most of the other songs on the CD, a sense of profound meaning that goes deeper than the simple melodies that I write. So yeah, this is called Everything's Fine, and the title comes from my friend Henry and I. We say hello to each other, and he doesn't speak English, and my German is very low, so it's very often alles klar, alles klar, and in German that's everything's fine, and usually that's the beginning and end of the conversation sometimes, but it's good enough to know just that sometimes, So let me play a bit of it for you. I'll play like the verse and the refrain, show you a little bit what I'm thinking about. Basically it. Just a nice little song, a little walk through the woods with my old friend Henry. That's Everything's Fine. This next song I'd like to talk to you about, this is called Thunder in the Mountain. And the genre of music I'm in, most of the time, the songs are, full of arpeggios and not a whole lot of thought, really too virtuosic, nothing, and it's all fine and good. But I come from a different sort of background, country, gospel, Celtic music, rock and roll. I had a long career as a classical pianist, and going solo a few years ago, I wanted to incorporate all of my influences, because I think that's the only thing that really sets me apart, is just my diversity, and the fact that if you come to one of my concerts, you're going to get a bit of everything. But with my own sort of style, you can see it on everything I do. But I haven't had any fun foot stomping, sawdust on the floor piano songs yet on my previous 2 albums. So, there's living in Switzerland. I lived in Virginia before, and I come from upstate New York, and we know about severe weather. We know about thunderstorms. We know about mountains. We know about rainstorms in the summer in the mountains. It'll shake the roots of your teeth out of your head. And from my Christian background, from my church work, I've always thought of the voice of the Lord as that. Your voice is the sound of thunder in the mountains. Your love is a rain cloud in the desert sky. And I wanted something that was just a celebration of this fact. And so, obviously, if you want to talk about thunder and lightning, and you can do all the tricks. You can do all the tricks. But I wanted something that was just simply foot stomping and head nodding. And so I just wanted to. So first of all, I had to get down the whole jump stride thing. That wasn't easy. That took a long time. But if you incorporate different elements together, you come up with something particularly unique. So I thought, just have that nice beat going. So we got the thunder, and the lightning, and so I wanted to have a steady beat going, and so I started. So whenever you're talking about thunder and lightning and mountains and rain and that sort of thing, you're basically talking about country music or folk music or foot stomping hillbilly stuff, And I couldn't just. I didn't want to go that direction. So I thought, let's get a nice little melody on top of. See if we can get a second part. So I thought, man, let's get down and dirty here, And let's just go crazy. And I build that up. I have that building up, and then after a while, I get to a section, the song's not over. It sounds like it's over about halfway through. And then I take it down. So we've got the big build-up. All this stuff. And then the song was really begging to have a little bit of a pause, calms everything back down, a little bit of a surprise. And then I thought, what kind of melody can I use that's not totally different from the first melody? Something simple. And then I just sort of set gave me an opportunity to go to another section, so I stuck in a little. And now this gives me an opportunity to take it back to where I was earlier, but still kind of in a soft spot, so I repeat it because it was so nice and soft. So here we go, we developed that, and I ended, and I didn't want to go back into, I didn't want to do that yet, not yet. So we ended from here. And then I thought, it's just a little more of a tease. Some gospel action happening here. Notice how the accent is on the and of the beat. Well, and. Otherwise it would have been like, I just didn't want that. It's too normal. I wanted to do a little different. You know, so then I got to kind of the fourth melody. And I just go right into the craziness from the beginning. So let me play a little bit. I'll do a kind of a condensed version of all these elements that I've shown you, from the jumps around to the calm in the storm, to the soft part, to the return to the craziness, and then I'll finish it. Yeah, this is called Thunder in the Mountain.